The final episode of the Penguin series has set up some interesting things to be explored in Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2. There was a tease of Gotham's political change, there was a tease of two villains, and there was obviously an understanding of what role Penguin is now taking up. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you my theories and predictions for what we could see in the Batman 2 after having that brutal ending for the new Penguin show. Before I get into it though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my future content surrounding the Penguin series, the Batman saga, and other upcoming DC projects, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into what could happen in the Batman Part 2. So the ending of the Penguin was quite brutal, and an eventful conclusion to a show that has been nothing short of spectacular. To begin with, Sophia Falcone ends up back in Arkham instead of dying at the hands of Oz, who has now won his crime war. Oz partnered with Councilman Haiti to shift the blame for his ruined drug lab onto a conflict between the Maronis and the Falcones. He leads Sophia to what originally appears to be her demise, but instead, she is apprehended by the GCPD and taken back to Arkham Asylum, the last place she would want to be. This brings her story back to where it started, and it's a terrible outcome for her, considering the traumatic experiences she endured there before. However, it also left us with an intriguing hint of a potential future team-up with her half-sister Selina Kyle, as she had sent her a letter which we don't currently know the contents of. But while it sounds like it ended bad for Sophia Falcone, the real brutality of this series comes in an unexpected way. In the closing scenes of the episode, Vic opens up about the profound impact his time with Oz has had on him. However, Oz responds by telling Vic that he can no longer accept his assistance, and in a shocking turn, he begins to strangle him. Oz articulates his reasons while doing so, revealing that he can no longer afford the vulnerability that comes with having close friends. The only family he has left is his mother, who remains in a catatonic state after suffering a stroke, and his partner Eve, who appears to be emotionally distant and playing the role of his mother because Oz probably forced her to. And by the very final shot that this all leads into, we only get a slight nod to Batman as we see the bat signal illuminating the night and casting its glow over Gotham City. So while Oz caused a hell of a lot of pain, there is still one big thing that stands in his way, and that is the Caped Crusader. The conclusion of the Batman film made it clear to us that Oz was determined to elevate himself and usurp Carmine Falcone's position in the criminal hierarchy. The show delved into his quest for power and the devastating impact it has on those in his orbit. And while the series isn't essential to watch going into the next film because of that last glimpse of Oz hinting at his ambition in the previous film, it does offer a deeper exploration for anyone curious about the intricacies of his rise to power. But now coming to what I think we could see going forward, there's a lot of different things that I noticed while watching the Penguin series that could tie into what we're going to be seeing in the Batman 2. To start with the obvious, it's clear that it's now approaching winter in Gotham, and crime in the city is becoming a huge problem. The upheaval in Gotham's criminal underbelly is bound to send shockwaves through the entire saga, forcing Batman to face the uncomfortable truth that he was absent when a new villain began to rise in his city. He underestimated Oz, viewing him merely as a pawn in Carmine's game, never realizing that he had the potential to ascend as the new leader. The escalating crime rates in Gotham will undoubtedly be a major topic of discussion, especially since the conclusion of the Batman film highlighted the power vacuum left in the city and the individuals eager to seize control. To link into this idea of rising crime, the final episode made a big focus on the impact of political control, showing how Penguin now has his foot in the door with those trying to fix these issues. Oz makes a big political move at City Hall, presenting a distorted narrative to Councilman Hady, the same councilman he had gotten to restore the power in Crown Point. He accused Sophia Falcone of causing the explosion there, which was accurate, but then he falsely claimed that it was a result of her assault on Salvatore Moroni's Bliss operation. He then tells the councilman that if he discloses this information, he will be on the path towards mayor in the next election. Hady further revealed to him that Bella Royale is launching an anti-corruption squad aimed at reforming the GCPD and the government. So if Oz wants to be a part of this initiative, he'll need to maintain a cleaner image. He takes this deal, and on his way out, he even catches a glimpse of Bella Royale herself. So it's clear that Oz has begun the path to gain some political influence, mirroring how Carmine Falcone built his own power. Falcone had people working for him within the system, and that allowed him to get what he wanted or cover up things he'd done. Penguin may be looking at taking that a step further, and you never know, we might even see Mayor Cobblepot come along with that. If I was to guess right now, I think that Penguin has a chance of being the main side villain of the next film, because the journey they've shown us in the show leads smoothly into that being the case. Also, it would make sense after that final shot of him in the first Batman film, because he was looking to seize power after Carmine's death. And by getting political figures to make his moves, it causes a bigger problem for Batman, Bella Royale, and others who are trying to control crime. And not to mention that Batman will probably have a lot of things to deal with, so he might become quite overloaded, and this gives people like Oz the power at street level. Moving on, the reason I think that this idea of political power is going to have importance going into the next film is because I believe Matt Reeves has already teased that the next movie is going to be about an even deeper level of corruption. Within that courtroom scene with the councilman from the Penguin, some people online have pointed out that the curtains in the room are shaped like owls. Now, at first, you could say that this is just a coincidence, but of all places that they could have done that, why is it a courtroom? In my opinion, this is a clear reference to the Court of Owls, who have been a rumoured villain for a long time in Matt Reeves' Batman saga. And it only makes sense that Reeves goes down that path because they represent a deeper level of corruption in Gotham that we haven't seen. If Penguin is getting involved with the political side of things, then who's to say the Court of Owls aren't either controlling him or making some of his moves possible because they want him to? Weeks before the Penguin series aired, Reeves said in an interview that the Batman 2 will dig into an epic story about deeper corruption, and it goes places that he couldn't anticipate after the first one. He continued by saying that the seeds of where this goes are all in the first movie, and it expands in a way that will show you aspects of the character you never got to see. So Reeves has talked about that deeper level of corruption, and the Court of Owls are essentially the perfect villain for that. The group operates as a clandestine alliance of Gotham's elite, shrouded in mystery, and often dismissed as mere urban legend. They are a centuries-old organisation that wields significant influence, orchestrating much of the corruption that plagues Gotham. Their relentless pursuit of power is driven by a lineage of prominent families that have shaped the city's history. And to maintain their secrecy, they employ lethal assassins called Talons, whose ruthless efficiency keeps the organisation hidden from the majority of Gotham's citizens. These Talons are not only deadly, but also deeply entrenched in the city's power dynamics, and with the groundwork for corruption already established, it would be fitting for Batman to confront a formidable array of villains linked to Gotham's very fabric. This theme of institutional power and its corrupting nature was a central focus in the Batman Part 1, and now by having this interesting tease in the Penguin finale, Reeves and co could be indicating that this exploration will continue in the second film. So the Court of Owls are of course a likely route to go down, and I predict that they are going to be the main villain of that next film. Speaking of that villain tease, there are also a few other routes that they can go down, and that's because the finale of The Penguin did tease another villain. The character I'm talking about is Hush, who has been teased in both the Batman movie and the Penguin series. In the Batman film, a significant reference to Hush emerges from the crucial storyline involving Thomas Wayne's history. During his run for mayor, Wayne discovers that a journalist is investigating his wife and her troubling past. So concerned for her safety, he approaches Carmine Falcone to intimidate the reporter. Ultimately, Carmine takes drastic action and murders the journalist, who bears the last name Elliot. And in another pivotal moment in the film, the Riddler exposes the truth about the Wayne campaign, broadcasting the word hush on TV. Now, in the Penguin series, we've also had teases of the Elliot family in this iteration of Gotham, as we've had references to the Elliot Bridge. During Vic's flashback to the flooding in episode 3, we see a sign drifting by in the water, displaying the words Elliot Bridge. And then in the finale of the series, when Sophia is taken hostage by Oz, she points out to him that the Elliot Bridge is fittingly in the distance. So there's been a good few teases for the character of Hush, and at this point, if he didn't have some influence going forward, it seems like an awful lot of Easter eggs to give us. When it comes to the character of Hush in the comics, he first emerged as Thomas Elliot, a childhood friend to Bruce Wayne. Born into affluence, Thomas harbored a deep-seated animosity towards his parents, which drove him to attempt their murder. But only his mother escaped thanks to the intervention of Thomas Wayne. Following the tragic death of Bruce's parents, Tommy's resentment grew, fueled by envy of Bruce's financial freedom, and in a shocking turn, he ultimately killed his mother to claim the family wealth. Yet even with the fortune in hand, his relentless hatred for Bruce remained unbridled. So Hush could be used as the more personal villain and a deeper way of getting us into the plot of the next film. I don't think he'll be the main villain like the Court of Owls, but I think you can connect that story to what happens and make it a powerful confrontation for Bruce Wayne. Hush's true motivation might vary a bit from what we currently understand, but his animosity towards Bruce and his family is unmistakable. He has solid grounds for his hatred, and although some of those reasons could connect to the notion of deeper corruption involving the Court of Owls, Elliot still harbours a significant personal grudge. So when it comes to the villains in the Batman 2, I think the Court of Owls will be the main one, and then Hush and the Penguin will be the side villains that still link into that main narrative. Penguin has now got his nose into politics, and that is essentially controlled by the Court of Owls, and then Hush has the more personal angle with Bruce that could connect to that same corruption. Not to mention that each of these villains would fit perfectly into a wintry Batman film, which is the direction Reeves seems to be heading in. Now, there are of course other villains and characters that could be explored too, like an expansion of what we saw with Barry Keoghan's Joker, Paul Dano returning as the Riddler to help him, the appearance of Mr. Freeze, and Catwoman working with Sophia Falcone, which was teased in the finale of The Penguin. But I do think that these characters will be saved for later on, and if anything, they'll just make slight appearances. For instance, the Catwoman-Sophia team-up might be something that does pop up, but I question them having big roles so early because Catwoman has just gone to Bloodhaven, and we also have no idea what was on that letter that she gave Sophia. So I think maybe they'd build up to that and then give them more of a role in the third film. And I think the same can be said when it comes to Barry Keoghan's Joker, because we've had that villain be adapted in the second film of a trilogy before. Furthermore, the Joker series, which was rumoured the other day to be set between the Batman 2 and 3, has now been denied by DC producer James Gunn, so that clearly wasn't even the plan. They need more time to build on his character, and I think if he was to be a main villain, it would be later on with the Batman Part 3. So as a whole, I think characters like this will be explored more deeply in future projects. But that was my video discussing some of the things we could see in the Batman Part 2. The ending of The Penguin has opened up many exciting possibilities for the next film, and honestly, I trust whatever direction Matt Reeves is going in. It does seem that we are going to go even deeper into the corruption of the city and the Wayne family history, so I think that most of these elements that I've discussed have greater potential to be adapted. Still, I have faith in Reeves to construct a great story in the sequel, and I expect that he's going to try his absolute best to bring us a film that elevates everything we've seen. But let me know down below in the comment section what you would like to see in the next Batman film, alongside what you thought of the ending to the Penguin series. For much more videos and news on the Batman universe and DC, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.